Okay, guys, I want to come in here and sort of explain what you're about to see and the videos and the process of what happened throughout our racing endeavor this year. Just kind of as almost a season closure, yeah, something like that. We, as you know, most of you know, we go to LS Fest almost every year, or at least for the past few years. And then right after that is usually a streetcar takeover, and then right after that is No Name Nationals. And then this year is our first time ever traveling to Florida for FL2K. Now, let's get into that in itself. Why FL2K? I don't really know. Something drew me to the event. The idea of, quote, streetcars. It's kind of the same reason that I like racing with the streetcar takeover people. It's usually you're racing cars. They're typically actual cars. They're not race cars. And I know that's a hard explanation to make, and that the definition of a race car and street car is totally different in everybody's world. But in my world, my car is what you would consider a street car. And so I feel at home typically in those scenarios. And I'm able to bracket race or index race in fields of cars that are closer to mine than your ordinary bracket race at your local track. And that's not to look down on bracket racing. It's just usually the cars there are slower. And so it's easier for them to race against us. And I know that doesn't make sense, and it's all about... We won't get into that. However, let's get into the endeavor of what it takes to truly be... I'm not even a semi-pro racer. I'm an amateur at best. And just to show you what it takes to be an amateur racer, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of money, and it's not worth it. If you look at it mathematically, it's not worth the money and time you put into it. But that's not what it's about. It's not about how much money you put into it. It's not about how much time you put into it. It's about what you get out of it. And if you don't get anything out of it, it's never worth it. You'll never get anything out of it. If you enjoy the process of taking something that's decrepit and long gone needs to go to the junkyard to make a new car, and then taking that and turning it into something maybe not nice, but nicer, and then also making it go extremely fast and quick. That feeling you get knowing that you did that, and that you're the one that turned the wrenches, and you're the one that looked at the data logs and made decisions and decided what to do next and what to try next, what to add to the car to make it go faster or to be safer or to get better traction. The list goes on. And this is every car everywhere. Any type of sport where you take a vehicle that used to be on the road and you have to put it on a racetrack and make it perform almost like a racehorse. You have to tune it, you have to train it, you have to do so many little things to get it to go fast. And now my arm's getting tired. But in that regard, the idea of getting it to that point is what you're supposed to want. You're not... If you just want to win races, doing all that work is meaningless. Pay someone to build your race car. Because that's what winning teams do. But that's not the point of being a car person or being a car enthusiast. You want to enjoy the car. You want to be a part of its life. You want to be the reason it is the way it is. And so that's the main reason we do our own stuff. We don't pay anybody to build the cars. And that's a lot of the reasons we're behind in every aspect of racing is we do all the work. We don't have anybody that does everything on the car. It's us. We're the quote tuner. We're the chassis guy. We're the driver. I mean, we're the crew chief. These small teams out there like us don't have the what it takes to be. We don't have the buddies that have, boatloads of knowledge. Which I mean, in technicality, we do, but they're not here with us every track we go to. They're not. They're just helping us when they can. Typically, it's helpful, but I digress. Anyway, so like I was saying, it takes a lot of effort to get into the sport in general. So let's take a break here a minute, and I'll explain what I meant by what we had to go through this year. So our first event this year was LS Fest in Bowling Green, Kentucky. First event of the year. I didn't even get the race from January all the way till then, which is September, the first week of September. That's a long time to be out of a car and not ever be in it, not letting go of the button, not getting used to it, not testing, nothing. So I spent all that time buying safety equipment, parts for the motor, and everything that goes into making the car safe, reliable, and enjoyable. And actually just getting to the track. I mean, that's part of it. This stuff doesn't just happen on its own. So what I want to get at here is I spent almost all year doing nothing, basically, because I couldn't, because I had to build this stuff and buy this stuff in order to compete, to be legal. And that's dumb, right? But that's the rules, and the rules are what they are. So we just have to abide by those rules. So that's the first step in being an amateur racer. You have a rule set, and if you don't fit the rule set, you're not in the race. So that was the first, I guess, trip or fall hazard of the year, is we got held back from that. And I can't blame anybody other than me for the fact that it took us that long. But you only can have so many jobs and you can only make so much money on the side. There's not much you can do to just instantly flip that to where it works better for you. Like, you can't just go out and make $100,000 in one sitting with nothing, with no money, right? You have to have something to buy, to flip, or be in a trade deal with somebody. I mean, there's probably a way, but I don't know it. I didn't know how to do it. So I had to deal with what I knew how to do. And we did. And we got everything in line. We got the motor back from the machine shop, got it together, and lo and behold, we have an issue. It's making some sort of knocking noise. That's not good. We tracked it down. We thought it was lifters. We put 3 sets of lifters in it. Nothing changed. That's when we knew we had to stop. We had to pull the motor. And then granted, this is 2 or 3 weeks before LS Fest. We had finished everything and got it running, and that's what we found. It was that it was tapping, making a knocking noise. I thought it was bottom end noise myself, and I was sort of right. Not really, but sort of right. But everybody around me thought it was the lifters. Now, when we put 3 sets of lifters in it and nothing changed, we knew that something was wrong. And we couldn't keep going that route. We knew that wasn't the fix. We went up the route of, we thought it was push rods, and maybe our push rods were too short or too long or whatever the case may be. That wasn't it either. We found out we were doing it right, how we were measuring. Everything was the way it should have been. That's when we get the motor out. The week before LS Fest, I had a Gen 4, Gen 3.5, Gen 3 LS sitting here, ready to go. All it needed was head gaskets, head studs. And we were golden. That's all we needed to get it going and ready to go. Fast forward a couple days before LS Fest. We get the new motor in, and it works. Everything's fine. It sounds good. But I want to preface this by saying I had to drive 4 or 5 hours all the way up to Summit in Ohio to get the parts needed. So in a week's time, I drove up there once, got all the parts we needed, come back, built the motor, put the motor together, put it in the car, get it running, take it up the road and back, and load it in the trailer to head out to LS Fest. Flash forward to LS Fest. We were fighting the car with it was filling cylinders with fuel, like an injector was stuck. No big deal. Had them cleaned. Thought we were good. Well, that wasn't it. So what did we do? We stopped. We cleaned out all the lines, cleaned out the filter, put the new cleaned injectors back on. That didn't fix it. So, what does that mean for me? That means I had to buy injectors because I thought these were bad, which they still were once we had them tested, flow tested. One was going bad, but that's not the reason it was pouring fuel in. That was a different thing. But I had to buy injectors. So now you're talking $900 or so shipped and everything with the proper adapters or whatever. Already into that. Now you're thinking, Dylan, what's the issue? I just had some stuck injectors. You're right. That's not that big of a deal if you catch it and you stop it in time. Flash forward a week, or 3 or 4 days, or no, 2 days. 2 days after LS Fest, I drained the oil, and let's just say my oil was metallic paint. There was flakes everywhere, and they were big, and it was bearings. It was no doubt that there was bearing failure, and there was nothing that we could do to fix it. It still had oil pressure. There was no spun rod bearings, nothing. So the decision was we had 5 days, 6 days to get it, either an engine in it and back. I didn't have another spare engine. There's a junkyard right there, but there's no reason to spend that money when I have a good motor. The one that's from the machine shop sitting there just needs put back together and assembled and properly machined. Again, after, and I'll get into that in a second. So we slapped that engine back in the car, ready for No Name Nationals 2024, and that's the gist of it. At No Name Nationals 2024, the first pass of the car, we blew it up. It went almost to the 660 mark and let go. I think it was probably 10, 20 feet before the 660. It went a 637 or something like that in the 8th. But it was grenaded. So that same weekend, we did a pit thrash at the No Name Nationals to try and put a new motor in it that luckily there was somebody there that had one, but I had to pay for that. And so that's another expense I didn't want to do, but I was there. I knew I had the capabilities of putting an engine in. I mean, we got so good at it recently that it's pretty easy, actually. That's where the problem started again. So when the motor locked up on the big end, it broke the bell housing, slit all the way around it, enough to where it's not a usable. It would be unwise to use that transmission like that. It would hurt the transmission, as it would bend a lot of things, and it's just not a good idea to run a broken bell housing. You can weld them up. We just didn't have a welder there, and it was already too late at that point anyway. We would only been able to get down the track once before they closed. That's where I had to come home. So we came home from No Name Nationals, and that weekend, everything that was in the car, that new 6-liter motor that was graciously found at the track and whatever and exchanged, that had to come out of the car. I had to get the new motor to the motor that was from the machine shop earlier that had the noises that we just couldn't use at the time. I had to take that back to the machine shop, have them look at it, disassemble it, see what they think is wrong. Well, they found a piston pin had walked out of the thing and had ate up one of the cylinder walls. Luckily, it was enough that it didn't matter, and that we were just able to slightly machine it a little and clean it up and put it back together the way it was. Now, we are 3 days away from going 16 hours away into Florida at FL2K. I'm thrashing. I'm the only one working on the car at this point. There's nobody else here to help. I am the person putting the engine and motor and transmission and everything. So, we did a bell housing. So we did a JW bell on the 400 of mine to get it usable again, instead of having to borrow a 400 or buy one, a full transmission, because that's expensive. So that's what happened there. Now, we get it all said and done. The car runs. I can take it up the road. I laid into it a little bit. It's fine. There's no noises. We're golden. I thought, man, this is going to be the weekend. This is going to be the fun part of the whole year. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll come home and we'll think about this for the remainder of our days. That's where the misconception started, and I was wrong. I was foreshadowed absolutely incorrectly. We get to FL2K, and, well, we spent the night at the track. Woke up in the morning, went to tech, got teched in. That day was purely just qualifying. So we wait till our second qualifying pass. We go up. They tell us that this is the final round of qualifying, even though there was one more in the next day. So I thought, well, we're going to have a qualifying tomorrow in case something bad happens today. It's no big deal. That went out the window. Not knowing that what was going to happen on the starting line was going to get us DQ'd from the whole event. Yeah, I said that. We got DQ'd from an event because of a leak. And this is totally my fault. This is something I did. It's something I missed. There's nothing that can fix it at this point, so it's just there. We get up to the starting line. I do my burnout. I turn the intercooler pump on. Leaks water right onto the track. We back up. Somebody had a wrench up there, so we tighten it. I thought, I'm still in the car strapped in, and somebody out there is tightening it. And I should have stopped and thought, if one's loose, the other's loose. But in the moment, I'm just furious with myself. I wasn't thinking straight. And so I pulled back up into the water box. I do my second burnout. And I turn that pump back on, and it leaks again from the back fitting. And I go to tighten it up. I actually get out of the car this time, shut it off, tighten it up, and one of the, I guess you would call them track operators, comes up and says, "Hey, buddy, you're done for the weekend, and you're just qualified." And so that's our Florida trip. So after they DQ'd us, we drove right back to the trailer, loaded the car up, and headed right back home. So in a span of less than 48 hours, I drive 16 hours to Florida and get DQ'd the next day, and then drive back home. That's 16 hours on that'd have been a Friday evening. Yeah, Friday evening or something like that. And no, Saturday. So we get home Sunday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. This was a Saturday, I'm sorry. 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. I sleep 2 hours till 8. Here's the thing. There's a muscle car Sunday race at our local track, Edgewater Motorsports Park. It's in Cleves, Ohio. If you haven't been there, you should go there. Best track burger, some of the best chili cheese fries, in my opinion. Anyway, We go there the next day. I get 2 hours of sleep. We go out there, #1 qualifier in the quick 32. So I get the first round bye. It's great. I love it. I'm ecstatic that the car's even. I made an awesome pass. It went a 6. I can't remember. It was a 620 or something like that. I'm like, dude, I don't care that it's not faster. That doesn't bug me any at all. So that I make that pass. We go up for round 1 of eliminations, which is I got the bye. So I make a nice, easy A to B pass, no problems. So after that, second round, I get eliminated, but I make a record run of 610 at 116. Now you're thinking, Dylan, 610 at 116, that mile an hour don't match. You're right. It shouldn't. It should be in the 590 range, roughly. So, yeah, I'm a little confused on that. But even then, I'm still happy. 610's the fastest we've ever gone. It's great. And we're not even leaning on the car. So, I'm like, this is awesome. This is going to be great. I mean, the car's together. It's awesome. So that kind of ended the year. And then you guys have seen the Plates and 28s video, so I won't go into that. But this is just an explanation of what happened from September to October and in between a little bit. So I just want to show you the footage that you're about to see is me after No Name Nationals. And getting parts from BTR was super helpful in getting us to Plates and 28s. Or sorry, FL2K. But, you know, that's just part of the game. When you want to be even an amateur racer at this point, it costs money to do this. It costs time. And if you don't have either of those, I suggest to do a different hobby. And I don't want to put people away from drag racing because it's an amazing sport and it truly is fulfilling in most areas of it. But it takes everything you have, every ounce of power that you can put into your program and getting places. It takes every ounce of that, and it's a lot. And if you're not willing to give it, this sport will chew you up and spit you out and think nothing of it. So that's my rant to you about drag racing and what it's done to me and what it's done to other people. I mean, I'm sure every racer can attest to this, that this has happened to them where they've just done everything they could and it just wasn't enough. So with that being said, we'll get into those video clips. I'm going to go warm up the Laguna and get it somewhat warm, and so that we can just keep the fuel from flowing and the springs in different locations. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in a second.